Hi, my name's Angela Casey and welcome to Edinburgh Outdoors, the podcast that explores Edinburgh's green spaces and the people in them. And this morning we are in Sunshine on Leith Community Garden, which is off Leith Walk on the way down towards Leith, and we've got a really, really sunny day and the birds are singing, which you'll hear, and there's blossom out. I'm here with a member of the community garden, Flip Kalakovic. Hello, Flip.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Well,
welcome.
Yeah, thank you. This is a gorgeous garden to be welcome to. It's a Sunday morning, so it's very peaceful.
So this is Sunshine on Leith Community Garden, and I think your reaction when you came in and you saw it is my reaction when I came in. It's always a bit of a lovely jolt when you walk through the pathway and suddenly everything opens up in front of you and you just don't have no idea that this is here and that this exists because it's surrounded by the tenements. And so I discovered it through my neighbour, who... It was January 2020, and I had that usual New Year resolution of, this year I want to maybe do something that I haven't done before, and I decided, let's try do some gardening and just try grow stuff, because I'd always had like houseplants and stuff like that, and I grew up, my parents had an allotment and they have a garden, but I didn't do nothing like that at all. So I thought, I'll do a bit of something, and I asked my neighbour, because we have a communal garden in our flat, quite a small one, if I could do something there. And he said, yeah, of course. But then he said, but why don't you go to Sunshine on Leith Community Garden, which is a 60-second walk down the road? And I was like, I don't know what place is this? And he was my introduction to it, because he has a bed here as well. And he said, it's really easy. You just go in, there's a gate there. It's not even locked. It is locked now, but back then it wasn't. And I just kind of walked in, and that was my... and I remember, I think it was like, this lovely winter day, and you walked in, and even though it was the middle of January, you just suddenly thought, wow, this is here, and I didn't realise, and I can chance me. So I went onto the waiting list, and I got a bed in March 2020, maybe 2 or 3 weeks before lockdown. Did not realise how lucky I was. And it was sort of my lockdown discovery, and how I started being here, and coming here regularly was a lockdown activity for me.
And you were allowed to come here during lockdown?
Yes. So gardening, allotment activities, all that kind of stuff was allowed. Yeah. Obviously, you still had to sort of socially distance. Have to say, not many people did come. So for my sort of first 3-4 months of being a member and coming and tending to my bed, you barely ever saw anyone here, and things got quite like overgrown and neglected, understandably. Yeah. I think people were being cautious. But for me, because I was living alone during the pandemic and it was just right down the road for me, it really was this escape, and just to come and when you're having a bit of a wobble, to be able to just feel quite... We'll just be in this lovely space and to hear the birds and just think, life is continuing as normal, also, despite this weird global event that's happening around us.
And also living in a flat on your own.
It was my first time ever living on my own. I've always had flatmates or lived in shared like communal spaces. But my flatmate, who was Portuguese, she left as soon as lockdown was announced, so then that just meant that I had this 6-month period of being on my own before I got a new flatmate. You've come on one of our work days. We have a monthly work day, so hopefully in an hour or so people will be arriving, and you'll get a chance to hear a bit of that and maybe meet some people as well.
So you're having a work day, because these are individual beds, is that right?
Yes.
But people do communal stuff.
Exactly. So the garden has 38 raised beds. Each member, or it can be a group of members as well, has ownership of, I guess. But then apart from that, the wider garden space, which you can see around us, which is a lot larger, that belongs to all of us, and we all look after that together. So that's what the work days are about. We come together. There's a work day every month during the growing season, so March to November basically, and on that day we come and we do a lot of weeding, a lot of clearing things, fixing, pruning, planting, kind of whatever needs doing really. And at the moment, our shed is the big, exciting project. So we have a brand new shed, and we've got a little subcommittee of people who've come together who are all looking forward to getting that organised and getting equipment for that.
Had you done much gardening before you got your bed?
No, nothing. Pot plants and house plants. I love that. Yeah. My flat's full of house plants, but that was partly why back in 2020 I thought, let's maybe try a bit of gardening. And I mean, maybe as a kid, some of my parents had an allotment, so I would be taken along to that. But I was totally uninterested doing anything there.
I think you find it later in life. There's a need to nurture almost. Show me which is your bed then. Sure, let's go and look at your bed.
So I've actually had 3. I feel I've worked my way up the ranks. So I first had one that was in quite a shady spot initially. So I had that for the first year. That was my lockdown bed. And then moved across to another one And then finally, about a year and a half ago, moved to this one here, which I feel is optimum space.
You've got a lot of rhubarb there.
Yeah, massive rhubarb, which I love very much.
It takes up a lot of the bed though, doesn't it?
It does, which I'm actually okay with. I'm a bit of a lazy gardener, if there's in that. I'm quite happy that there's something there and then I only have 2/3 of a bed to think about filling. So it's the time of year that we're all mulling over what we're going to put in, and this is at the garden work days. Everyone starts saying, oh, what are you going to put in? What are you going to grow? And you start sharing ideas. Mine is sort of a bit of a blank space to fill, so I'm still having a little...
You need to eat your rhubarb.
I'll be picking some for later, definitely. Yeah.
I'm very good at killing rhubarb.
There's something very pleasing about it as a plant. I really like having it there, and something really nice about harvesting it. And yeah.
It's a quirky thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So so you got your strawberries in, and do you put things in between the strawberries?
So I'm very haphazard. I just kind of whack in things as and when they come. What did I grow last year? I had some beans, herbs. I had potatoes last year. As you can see, there's a few I didn't fully harvest, and so I might be doing that again this year. But
potatoes are a weed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, once you've planted potatoes, they come up for years and years because you never dig them all out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you'll probably get more potatoes.
Well, they're so fun. It's just a really fun thing to discovering treasure. You're like, oh, all these gifts under the ground for me. Moved over the years to different ones. So I had one at the back around there and then one over there.
Inevitably, some beds are going to be better than others, aren't they?
Yeah, just sort of where they are. And that's actually where a lot of the workday sessions are useful because... For example, that hedge there, which does grow next to them, we're often have to constantly be cutting that down to make sure that there's not too much shade over them. And similarly for the back ones that have like the fruit trees next to them. And bed repairing is a big thing that we're constantly doing because they're wooden beds. So we've had repair workshop days that we've done in collaboration with the tool library. One of my favourite things to do to walk around and look at people's beds and just sort of
get
ideas,
isn't it?
Admire them. But
it's so peaceful here. Should we go and sit down?
What are you planting, Vicky?
Not very good plants, but I'll see how they go. They'll probably sulk for a while and then they'll be okay.
I feel yours always did do very well.
Well, they do okay. They do okay. I planted these out last week, so they've had really good weather. And I came and watered them halfway through the week. So they're about 3 weeks old, so they are really good.
These are going to look great, though, because these are all going to come up in a great big heap of colour and they'll be beautiful. Yeah, I'm a bit colder than you, so I'm about 2 weeks behind everyone else.
Yeah. My mum's in South Wales, and the differences are always so funny, like in terms of where things are. And like when you watch Gardeners World and stuff, you're just like...
Yeah, not on your life, Monty. I'm not putting those in this week.
Really? You're like, don't listen to Monty, he's lying to you. I know, because I was just saying to Charles, it still might snow. It still might snow.
So you found this place in lockdown.
Yes.
And it saved your lockdown, like for many people.
Yeah, enhanced it for sure, and helped me to discover like a really lovely network of people who live very locally, who I'd not known before either, and who I now definitely am friendly with, which is really, really nice. It's partly, I think, why I'm a member of the garden, but I'm also part of the committee, and we have been on the committee maybe slightly too long, to be honest. I think is this going into our 4th year? But I think we're just enjoying it so much, and it's very relaxed. And when I say committee, it's not the 4 of us making decisions, it's very much we want every member in the garden to have a say. So, for example, our shed meeting last week, everyone came along and there was this big group session where everyone was sort of chatting and divvying up, sharing ideas and things like that. That's what I like about it. Very non-hierarchical.
Yeah, and, I guess you need the committee because you need, like, you've got this amazing funding for that shed. Yeah. So you need some people who are willing to step forward and do the funding.
And there is an element of admin. So there's a waiting list for beds, and when you want to have a bed, you pay £20 a year, but that gives you access to come and do whatever you want here. And then we also ask members to commit to coming to 3 work sessions in the year. Obviously, it's a Sunday once a month, so not everyone can do that. Hopefully we're not too strict, but that's what we ask, basically, to come along. And I feel that that's part of the spirit of what a community garden is, versus even saying the difference between a community garden and an allotment. You don't really need to come and have that community aspect if you don't want it. You could just come and tend to that and leave. But I do think the community garden, this is very much about people coming together and creating this space and looking after it together. It's been a very enriching experience. Yeah. So it was really interesting when we were doing all our shed research and we went to visit one of our neighbouring gardens, Loch End Community Garden. It was so interesting meeting them and seeing what they do. They're much more organised, is that the word? They definitely have much more of a system in place. And I'm sure if we met more gardens, you'd discover lots of other ways of doing things. And it made me think, actually, we should probably go out and see more. But because we're here, and everyone is doing this in their spare time as well, so there's a limited amount of capacity to do
one of
stuff.
the ones I interviewed right at the beginning when I started the podcast was Jock Tamson's garden.
That's a
in
lovely
Duddingston.
space, yeah.
And I just came away from that thinking, what have I been doing with my life?
Yeah.
Why haven't I been working here?
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
But they're there, like, for anyone to get involved in at any point,
And I suppose the big difference there is that you can wander into Jock Tamson's and people can't actually come and visit this one.
No,
Can
this
they?
one is a bit of a different sort of space in that so this land that we're on is council land, and this was set up through Edinburgh Estates in 2012. But because it's surrounded by residential flats and other gardens, I think that has needed an element of security. There is this gate that you come through which was unlocked, and unfortunately there were some issues a few years ago of just people coming in and antisocial behaviour, disturbing residents. So we realised we did at that point need to put in a code. So that is maybe one of the unfortunate aspects of it, that you kind of need to know about it and be invited in now at this point.
But that makes it rather special for you.
It does,
that
yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Do you do open days?
We used to. There was a lot more activity pre-pandemic. There was an open door day in September, I think, that people used to come to. I think they used to have a sort of annual fete. COVID, definitely there was a bit of a shift, and the last 5 years have really been about building the community back up, I'd say. Even it just came to just repairing all the beds that had worn down and become quite neglected, and then getting funding for this shed. And I think there's also just been, because people come and go, we do have a number of really long-term members who've been here since the beginning. So our treasurer was one of the original people who helped to literally build the beds here back when the garden was being created. If you go onto the Edinburgh Estates website, you can see pictures of what the space looked like before and after. It's really amazing.
That's what I was going to ask you. What did it look like before?
Completely overgrown. It was this total wilderness of just weeds and shrubs. And I think it was one of 12 community gardens that were set up across the city using disused or / abandoned council land.
And that was done by Edinburgh Estates, was it?
Yeah, they were the body that were helping to facilitate that, and then they've actually now come back and are the link between community gardens and the council. So they're the ones who are there to answer questions and support us, which is great. And they actually only came back about 2 years ago. Again, it's all rebuilding after the pandemic. So I think now that they're kind of back here and there's this network link for us, that's going to be really, really useful in terms of ideas and things going forward.
Did they help you with the application for the funding and all that?
They were the ones who suggested it. So,
right.
So first of all, when they were back, I think they see us as an example of successful community garden, which is very nice. And they're also based around the corner, so they can pop over and might see us quite frequently. So first of all, they were saying, what things do you need doing? And we were talking about tree pruning, and they managed to help us get some funding. We pruned a lot of these really big trees here. And then that led to a discussion about what else would you like? And we were saying, well, our shed is a bit run down and rotting, and yeah, it'd be quite nice to maybe get that fixed up. And they were like, well, you get a new one. And they were the ones who were like, lottery community projects are there and available for things like this. If you thought about putting an application, we'll help you write it.
Wow.
Which
it's really useful.
So useful. I don't think we would have got that in, certainly not in the time frame, without their help. So yeah, that was in November last year. Put in an application, largely written by them, it has to be said, but we did our bit of input. And then 3 months later, the lottery were like, yeah, here's 10 grand for a shed. It was pretty wild.
That's amazing. Yeah. That is brilliant. And all the beds are taken at the moment, are they?
Yes, with the exception of one that we just feel is not in good enough condition to offer to someone. Just there's one in the corner over there, but the others are all full. So this is the time of year, February, March, April is bed turnaround time. So some people decide that they want to give up the beds, and that's when we get in touch with new people on the waiting list and come through, which is really nice. So there's always like a little new influx of very keen, enthusiastic people, which is what you need.
Yeah, it is. And are they all local people?
Largely, I'd say probably 60-ish% are based in Broughton, Leith area, more or less. And then there'll be some that come from Granton and maybe Portobello. But I found certainly that this is maybe inevitable. Like, it's true. I think I come here because the garden is so close. I think if this was a garden more than on the other side of the city, it would just be harder. So we have found, not that there's no rule, but we do stress to people that we want people to be involved and to come and get involved at work sessions. And if they live far away, we kind of do just sort of gently ask, do you think, will that be okay in terms of you being able to get here? There might be community gardens near you that work, but people are good, you know.
Yeah.
I think if you've made the effort to find us and find out who we are, and often it's word of mouth at this stage. A lot of people live in the surrounding tenements as well. There's probably about at least maybe 10, so maybe you're thinking about a quarter of the beds.
You're going to look down here and see all these people having a lovely time and digging up their potatoes and think, well, why aren't I doing that?
Exactly, yeah, which is really nice. And I think this was one of the aims when this was being set up, that this in particular would be a space that local residents could use, because it's sort of mixed housing around here, and it's just a really nice thing to get people involved in, and for facilitating relationship between the community that actually live here as well. Yeah.
Do you know, the other thing I'm thinking as I sit here also looking at these beds, because they're actually very manageable sized beds. It's not like an allotment when you go and get your allotment, and it's a massive space. Yeah. And for a lot of people who want to just try gardening, it's a bit daunting. Yeah. And you also have to wait years to get it.
I think it's 7 years is the current time frame. So I've got a friend who's been on it for that long. The idea of having an allotment is very intimate. I don't think I'll ever have one, or I can't imagine having one that wouldn't be maybe with 10 other people who would help me. The beds here are a perfect size for me. Maybe some people would say they want a little bit more space, but I find this very manageable. It's just a way to come and
piddle around in your garden, but also learn from other people.
Yeah, the social thing is really nice, and as well as the work days, we just have a few other events. We always have like a Burns night bonfire, which is really lovely. There's usually a winter bonfire to mark the end of the work days, so sort of November, December. Yeah, the bonfire is well used. In fact, we're going to get a fire pit. That's one of the aims, I think, for this year, to have outside the shed, because the shed has a porch, you probably saw, and we're thinking, oh, that'll be good, a good spot to have that there. And we're going to have a little celebration event to mark the new shed, and maybe have a potluck. And the bed rebuild days, which were really successful, that we did in collaboration with the Tool Library, they were rebuild days and also lunches, where Meg, our secretary, made loads of salad from lettuce that she was growing in her bed, and people were picking fruit. It was really, really good.
That sounds really good.
So I think we're not doing badly, but this is us building things back up. Everyone is doing this in their own time, and not everyone can come and do a work day every month. I find that there are busy times in the year where I won't come, maybe for 2 months, 3 months to the garden. Personally, at the moment, I'm actually based through in Glasgow because I'm doing a master's there, so I'm really not here very often. Yeah.
So you're travelling through to Glasgow?
I've actually moved through just until the summer because I'm doing a full-time master's, so the bed, luckily over the winter period there wasn't really that much to do here, and the rest of the community were like, no, it's fine. But now that I'm coming back and growing season starting, there is a bit of me that's like, how am I gonna look after everything?
Put it easy to manage stuff. Well, your strawberries will just look after themselves.
And maybe some herbs, and I was just thinking flowers. I'll just put in lots of flowers and see what pops up.
So you're living in Glasgow temporarily, and what's your master's in?
I'm doing a master's in I like how a lot of the master's programs in Glasgow are sentences rather than subjects. So I'm doing adult learning, community development and youth work.
Wow.
So my background, I've done lots of different things, but predominantly over the last 10 years, young people has been the connecting thing. I taught English as a foreign language, and then I worked in film education. So I used to work at Film House as part of the education team there, and most recently, for the last 4 years, I've been working for a charity as a youth worker. So lots of experience, but as is often the way, I think no formal training in this. You just get dropped into this and you do it. So I kind of thought, maybe time to actually do some professional development and really look at some theory behind this and work on that imposter syndrome. It's been really good. I've been really enjoying it. Yeah,
when does it finish?
Basically, classes have ended now. I'm doing a placement which finishes at the end of May. Hi. And then I've got my dissertation over the summer, and then it's done. So the year has flown by. It's sort of long and not long at the same time.
You could sit here and do your dissertation.
That's the aim, I think. Enjoy it in the sun. And I have been. That's the beauty of it being so close to Edinburgh. It's very easy. Yeah. No, actually, that's a good shout. I should absolutely come here, and people do. That's also what's nice. Not everyone is here always growing things. It's just being used as a space, so people come and have birthday parties here and barbecues here, and I bring friends here to just sort of sit and have a catch up and a drink. I hosted a book club session here, which was really, really nice.
This is a beautiful garden.
So literally this shed was finished up about 2 weeks ago, so you are seeing it completely in its newest state. Come on in. and it's going to be amazing.
So this is amazing. What's going to be in here?
So, well, this is what we all need to decide, really. This is the fun task. But it will be the place where we store all our tools and materials, seeds. And then, because of the space, we're hoping it will just be a place where people can come and do potting and tasks as well, and hopefully have a little section for teas and coffees.
Have you got a pond?
We do, yeah. Oh, I'll come show you the pond. Compost heaps are over here. And then... Morning. Hey, how are you doing? All good. Nice to see you again. Anyway,
Oh, well. Let's go and look at the pond.
Yes, sorry.
So this is a bit more of a wild area.
This is, yes, the wild section. The pond hasn't been filled in a while, partly because I think it's been through a little bit of a quiet winter period, but it will be back up again and running at some point. I haven't seen frogs in a while. There is a sign about frogs, but I'm sure they're there.
I should think they're there.
In a while, yeah.
I should think they're just... It's so good to have a pond because the frogs eat the slugs. So we were trying to listen for birds. So do you get much wildlife?
Yes.
What do you get?
We have definitely at least one resident fox who you see quite frequently. It's the usual squirrels. We do have frogs in our pond when the pond is more full. Loads of birds. And then, not wildlife, but of course, many, many cats that sort of live in the area as well.
Yeah.
The foxes are quite nice. The fox is quite tame, often just isn't fazed by people at all.
Urban foxes are quite brave, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm hearing more birds now. It's lovely. It's really nice.
No, I need to use that. Hi, how are you? How's it going? How are you? Good, yeah. Beautiful day for a spot of gardening.
So you got the funding for the shed from Edible Estates.
From the lottery, but via Edible Estates, yeah. But other than that, funding is all through the rates that we paid, the bed rates that people pay each year, which goes into insurance for the garden and then also tools, although actually we have a lot of things that have been donated as well.
And are there things that you'd like more funding for that you haven't got?
Yeah, I was wondering that. I suspect going down the line, once this sort of shed is up and running, there will be... It's nice because it starts you thinking of other activities and things that you can do. We've had chats about bees and we've had chats about growing mushrooms. None of these things have come to pass, but obviously setting that kind of stuff up would involve. And so maybe, and the nice thing is there are always little pots of funding available to run these things. Definitely we want to replace our compost heaps at some point, but for now so much has often been done in collaboration with other organisations like Edible Estates or Edinburgh Tool Library who came and helped us. So often buying wood is the big thing, wood for beds, and that's expensive now actually. So but we often use a lot of reclaimed wood. Move On is a really great supplier in Edinburgh that is all reclaimed wood, which is brilliant. So they're the main things, but this is the nice thing about getting new members. You always get new people coming in with new ideas. We have members who are quite creative, so there have been ideas about having sculptures and things like that, which would be really nice.
Do you know what I like about this space actually is that bits of it are quite wild.
Yeah, same. I like that too. It's not a massively manicured garden, which is absolutely my style. I quite like the fact that it's a little bit ramshackle in places, and I wouldn't want it to be too neat. And a few community gardens I have seen, I'm like, oh wow, this is very put together, and it's very impressive, but it's not for me. And I like the fact that the wilderness is here and kind of not always threatening to take over, which I think is fine. It's all part of it. Yeah,
I really like it. What I really love about it is that it feels like an oasis, but it also feels... I know there are buildings, but it feels like you're in the country a bit.
Oh, it really does. I think it must be about the buildings that really, as you say, it's very quiet when you come in, and I think the buildings must have a factor in reducing sort of street noise, and then the bird sound suddenly is really, really strong every time I come in. And I've been coming here for 5 years, and it still hits me every time walking in. You just feel
peaceful.
Yeah, and your blood pressure goes down. You walk in and you take a few breaths, and it's just so soothing. And that, I guess, is the thing that we all love about it, and that we want people to keep having the chance to come and see this. Yeah.
So people can find out about you on a website.
So we have a Facebook page.
You don't want to be inundated by applications, do you?
Well, I don't know. It's funny. Our membership list sort of. We had a very long waiting list during the pandemic, and then you start offering beds to people, and of course people's priorities change. Like sometimes people have the intention of I'm going to do some gardening, and then life gets in the way, or maybe they've discovered another activity, and that's totally fine. Or again, people will come and they'll have a bed here for a year, and then they decide maybe that was it, and then they want to do something else. So no, I think it's really great that people want to get involved. But yes, we only have 38 beds. But not everyone who comes and kind of volunteer. I don't want to say volunteer
because it's not volunteers, actually, are you?
No, and we're not a charity.
You're a community. You're gardener.
I mean, I suppose, yeah. Although it's funny, I don't think of myself as a gardener at all. But yeah, maybe that is a label I should apply with confidence. But I guess there's a volunteering element in that everyone does put their time into coming here and supporting each other. And we have had youth volunteers who helped build the shed, which was really nice. So Edible Estates have a offshoot called Growing Youth, which is done in collaboration with various local high schools, where they support teenagers in kind of the final 2 years of school who are maybe not quite sure like what their next steps are going to be, and they run this really interesting program which is giving the young people the chance to go out and get building skills through building these sheds. So a large chunk of the funding that we got was to facilitate getting young people into the garden. So they came over the course of like last term, basically once a week. I think we had six or seven young people who were coming in and helping to get this all together.
That's fantastic.
Really, really
That's
nice.
a really good thing.
Yeah.
Kind of thing you've been involved in. Maybe you're going to get involved in gardening.
With
kids after you finish your masters.
Oh, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm still got that. I still feel like I'm always asking questions and stuff. And there's this Panos, my neighbour, who introduced me to the garden. I was just explaining that I discovered this garden thanks to you. You told me about it. I'd never known that. I knew the food. It's so good.
Yeah. And you've got a bed here, have you?
Yes.
Have you had a bed here since the beginning?
No, but I was introduced by another member. And then it's been working now for maybe 10 years now. It's a beautiful day.
Isn't it? I know. So how can people find out more about it?
We have a Facebook page, which people are welcome to go on and message us, but the best way is via email. So if you've got any inquiries, you can get in touch with sunshineonleith@gmail.com, and we will get back to you.
So I ask everyone these questions. It's nothing to do with your garden, though it could be the answer.
Okay.
What does the outdoors mean for you, being outside? What does that mean for you?
Definitely for me, on a very personal level, I, over the last few years, have had a little bit of a lifestyle change in that I've been spending a lot more time outdoors and being a lot more active, which for me has been largely through walking. And gosh, I can't believe I'm saying this. Past Flip would be shocked and appalled at running. I've discovered running, did couch to 5k. But gardening for sure has been a large part of it as well. So for me, it has been being outdoors is about finding ways of feeling good in that space and using it to discover more places in the city and in Scotland as well. Like that's one of the things. That's partly why the walking has been so great. Getting out and about with friends and discovering new spots. So I really love that. And then through that, you do get this. You probably get this answer all the time, don't you? But this sense of well-being, and you realise how important that is in terms of you might be having a really rubbish day, and a lot of the time it can just be that you've been inside, and getting out even for 5 minutes and getting some fresh air can really transform that feeling. And that's definitely something that I've felt personally.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this already, actually, because the next question is, has there ever been a time when the outdoors has really helped you, when you've been having a tough time?
Yeah. I think so many people will mention COVID, I'm sure. You must get that quite a lot. But absolutely, I think in that very weird time when we had this enforced period of having to stay in, which I don't think, touch wood, we'll never have again, that suddenly made people really cherish the outdoors and how important it is. And again, I guess on another personal note, so I had a bereavement. My dad passed away about 1.5 years ago.
I'm sorry.
Which, thank you, was obviously very hard and emotional. But in a weird way, there is a beauty in these sort of experiences. Two things that helped so much. One is just people and my community of friends and family who I had around me to support me through that. And also, being able to get outside as well. So my dad died of cancer, and the final few weeks of his life, I was down in London with my mum and brother, and we were all looking after him. And during that time, it's very intense. I'd never done any sort of caring for someone, particularly terminal care, and I had to get out every day to go for a walk as to decompress. We all did. We all had these breaks. And so, you realise how important the outdoors is in that context as well.
Well, it helps you be a better carer. You can't just do full-on caring. You need the space outside, don't you, to help you get through it.
Yeah, no, that was interesting.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah. But
life goes on,
Indeed.
seasons change, rejuvenation with spring. That is what the outdoors brings, isn't it? That you see, okay, there is a cyclical thing, isn't
And that
there?
these are natural processes and cycles that are part of life, and that we need to live with and accept and come to terms with.
Where is your favourite space in or around Edinburgh?
There are so many great places in Edinburgh, but I'm going to be local and say, because this is the walk I did the most in lockdown, which was from Leith along the cycle path along Seafield to Portobello. And what I really love about it is you go through all these different terrains. You're in the city, and then you're like suddenly in green spaces, and then you're outside and you have the water like next to you as well. And I did that loads during that time, alone or with friends, and we'll always have really happy memories of that.
That's a nice place to be.
Good.
Lovely. Well,
Hope that
thank you
was
very
all
much.
useful.
That was great, and thank you for joining the podcast.
Yeah,
I've really enjoyed our lovely peaceful sit in the garden, and now seeing all these people beavering away. And as always, thank you for listening to Edinburgh Outdoors. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please rate us on your podcast app and leave a review. And don't forget to tell your friends, family or colleagues about it too. If you know of an outdoors space or person in or around Edinburgh that might like to be featured, you can get in touch via email, Blue Sky, Instagram or Facebook.